Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 five-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9 Cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com. Welcome to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. This podcast is a ministry of the Small Town Network. We exist to make disciples, train pastors, and plant churches in smaller communities. My name is Eric Nielsen, and I'm joined again today by my faithful co-host, Tony Colomb. How's it going, Tony?
It's going great, man. Beautiful day out here on the coast.
Yeah, I saw your new ride, man. We'll have to talk about that off camera. That looks like I need to come over and drive that with you.
It's a good time, I'll tell you that. So,
Yeah, you looked happy when I saw you on Facebook.
absolutely.
And today we're joined by my longtime friend, at least for a couple of years. I think, well, do you consider me a friend, Mario?
Yeah. No
I've known
pressure.
Mario for what? I've known you for since I came to Idaho, like 4 or 5 years.
No, just my church planting coach. No friends here.
Yeah, that's right. No friends, strictly professional. Joined by my friend Mario Romero. Welcome to the podcast, Mario.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, good to see you. So, man, we're excited. Mario and I was hired by the Evergreen, what is now the Evergreen Network, to plant a church in Twin Falls. Mario was actually a guy I was kind of networking with from an established church who was interested in church planting. And then Mario became a church planter of the Evergreen Network and inherited me as kind of a coach, mentor, whatever. I feel like honestly, Mario is like my unpaid therapist, more than I'm his coach. He just has a very good ear and he asks awesome questions. And I always feel like I'm going to help Mario, but I end up feeling like he's blessed me. So appreciate you, Mario.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we normally do is we kind of film one long session, make it into 2 episodes. And so we'd like to start with you just telling us your story, man. First of all, just a little bit about yourself, family, where you live, that kind of thing. And then we'll get into how you became a disciple of Jesus.
Yeah. I been married now for next month will be 21 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. Met my wife October 28th, 2003, and we got married October 28th, 2004. So super long engagement. I was in Iraq for 7 of those months, so that was good too. And then we got 3 boys, 3 teenage boys, 13, 15, 17, and
Wow.
so yeah, down here in Caldwell, Idaho.
Caldwell. Now, Caldwell's would you call it a suburb of Boise or just an outlying area town, or how'd you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, they call it the Treasure Valley. It's kind of all connected now that it's pretty grown. Before there was quite a bit of farmland in between, Caldwell and Boise, but now it's pretty much all connected. So I'd say more of a suburb.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I even remember in high school in the 90s heading out to the Boise area and feeling like Caldwell was further away from Boise than it feels nowadays. So lots of growth in your area for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Caldwell is how many people roughly?
Oh, I think we're at
I can Google it if you want.
60,000.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so it's growing out there.
Yeah.
So Mara, tell us about kind of your path to faith. Did you grow up in a Christian home? How did all that come about that you became a disciple of Jesus?
Yeah, I grew up so I'm from Amarillo, Texas, and I grew up in a Catholic family.
Okay.
So did the baptism when I was a baby. I said yes to that at a few days old.
that sarcasm?
Did my first confession and first communion during second grade. That was kind of the tradition back then.
Mm.
Went through catechism and got confirmed when I was 14, something like that. And my grandma was pretty active in our Catholic church. And we went. We were more than, Christmas, Easter churchgoers. And then, probably around 16, I just kind of stopped engaging and with church altogether, pretty much. Joined the Marine Corps at 19. I went to church during boot camp because it was like our 1 hour away from drill instructors. And you kind of got to nap, so that was nice. So
So are you saying like the guys would go to church basically because it was a way of getting out of normal stuff for 1 hour?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Dude, that reminds me of when I did prison ministry in Missouri, man. Like all these guys would sign up for the
Man.
General Pop Chapel just to get on their cell for an hour.
Yeah, I did a little chaplaincy work in the federal prison in Sheridan, Oregon, and they're like, yeah, a lot of guys come because they're tired of like seeing the same people every day. Just anybody different to talk to is like interesting. So
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I went to church for 3 months in boot camp. And then really, man, I didn't go to church while I was in the Marines. And then my wife and I, we moved to Denton, Texas whenever I got out.
Hmm.
She was going to Texas Women's University and was nannying for a single mom. And the mom invited us to church.
Okay. So
And so,
before you get into that real quick, so
yeah,
how long did you serve in the Marines?
5 years,
5
2001 to
years.
2006. Yeah.
And you were overseas most of that time?
I did 3 deployments. So,
3 deployments in Iraq?
In 5 years?
yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get into all that, but you were like a combat Marine, right?
No, I didn't ever see combat. Um,
Hmm.
so I didn't get shot at.
Okay.
Good for
I mean, we
you.
got rockets and stuff like that, but nothing.
Okay. Yeah. So you did 3 tours
Mhm.
and then your deployment was over, your enlistment was over, came out, and then you moved to Texas and you got invited to church. Okay.
Yep.
Carry on.
Carry on. Thank you, sir. Feel like Harvey. No, so we went to church, and it was an experience. As this, Catholic boy sitting in this huge Texas church.
Hmm.
Like it
And
was like a big evangelical church.
it was a it was a big Pentecostal church. I didn't know
Oh
this.
wow.
Oh, oh,
It was a Pentecostal church. And so
oh.
they asked visitors to stand up, and I'm a Marine. I'm just doing what I'm told, so I stand up. And they come over to my wife and I and just start praying over us in tongues. And I'm just like wondering what the heck is going on. Like
Mhm.
it was all new. So my wife and I, we're driving away, and we're kind of discussing like, what'd you think? What'd you think? And she was like, I like the idea of it, but I don't like that. And so and so we kind of started looking for a church to go to. And oddly enough, we ended up at Gateway, um, the other big mega church out there.
Mm.
Went there for a little while, and then just kind of went. We started taking some of their financial classes about tithing and stuff like that. Um, and then we found a church closer to home that was just a Christian evangelical church that we really liked. Didn't really get involved, just kind of went. And then after about a year and a half in Denton, we moved back to San Diego, and that's where we really got involved with the church. I was
Mm.
like where we grew up, Ranchland Church in San Diego. And um, I started doing the audio visual because that's where everybody starts, right? Like doing slides.
Actually, I think you start with stacking chairs and then graduate.
But it wasn't a mobile church, so
Oh,
chairs
okay.
got to stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
didn't-
chairs were
Yeah.
planted.
I forgot churches that there's other churches out there that don't have to stack chairs like me every Sunday.
Man,
I
you
didn't
do
know
the
there
movie
was mobile
theater.
church. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you do the movie theater for the mobile church. You never have to worry about stacking chairs.
And the seats are pretty comfortable these days. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cup holders and everything ready to
All
go.
that. Yeah, that is like that. I have to say that has been an improvement. So you're not stacking chairs, you're doing AV.
yep. Movie theater though, man, like they might fall asleep even more during the sermon. Then
Not during
I
my
mean,
sermon.
it is true.
Not when I preach. No one ever sleeps when I preach.
Yeah.
Nobody ever sleeps.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah.
Sanctified nap. It's okay.
They're just in deep prayer. Yeah, so we were there, started with audio and video, and the worship pastor was around our age too, and so we got to hitting it off pretty well, and we started volunteering with the youth, and it was just kind of from there that I really loved just kind of doing youth ministry, and I was going to college at the same time. We were involved in small groups, stuff like that, and we ended up getting baptized in September of 2008. My wife was pregnant with our first son.
This time by your choice.
Yeah, this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. In
Believers
the
baptism.
Pacific Ocean.
So if a pregnant woman gets baptized, is that infant baptism?
I'm not sure that counts. I don't know.
Still practicing the Catholic ways?
Hey, I know church
Catholic roots
planners.
run deep.
I know church planners would count that as 2 baptisms.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything we can do to help our numbers.
Yep.
Real quick. So with that, getting plugged in with that church in San Diego, is it the invitation to get involved in the ministry that really kind of helped bring you to that point where you decided, let's dive in, let's be all in with Jesus and get baptized?
I think part of it was the worship / youth pastor at the time, Ben, who was around our age, was pretty relational. And I think the first thing I ever did with him was play basketball.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so and even then he was kind of odd, but I love the dude. And so I think just part of that, just kind of seeing that relational piece, and being out of the Marine Corps then by, for a few years, I really hadn't established a lot of friendships outside of the Marine Corps. And so it was kind of cool to start seeing that. And I think that kind of drew me in a little bit.
Sure.
And then I always had a heart for high school guys, and just kind of always saw them like they're really wrestling on the fence at that age, and real impressionable.
Yeah.
So and he gave me an opportunity to just kind of come and serve. And
that's awesome. Yeah, no, thanks. I like to ask that or point that out in everyone's stories, because I think it's very important for us as we build this podcast out and talk about this network, because it's like there's the same or similar effective path for people to come to Jesus, regardless of what community you're in or size of church you're involved in. Relational connection and that one-on-one discipleship process of just investing in people and inviting them in, which it sounds like Ben did for you. So that's great. That's what I was wanting to know. But anyways.
Shout out to Ben if he ever hears this.
Right. Right. So youth ministry, you were getting involved in youth ministry, baptized 2008, September, on from there, I guess.
I was taking classes at the community college, and I was taking Spanish for an easy B. And so
now wait a minute. Did you already speak Spanish?
Huh?
Did you already speak Spanish?
I'm not fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
I understand pretty well. It's the conjugating of verbs that always got me. But I knew I could get an easy B in Spanish, so I know my limits. I was at a stoplight on my way to Spanish class when I clearly just kind of heard the Lord like calling me into ministry.
Mm.
And
Wait. Were you praying or something? Or just like there's
oh,
just
I don't remember praying. Um,
wow.
I just remember vividly
Mm.
like an audible like ministry, calling, and I was like, no.
Mm.
No.
I
Here,
said,
my Lord, send somebody else. Yeah.
yes, yeah. I, I was not Isaiah. And I remember we had our life group the next day. It was on a Thursday. We had life group, and I went and I told him, and I was like, that's not for me. I was
Mm.
like, you gotta love people, and I don't even like them. I had PTSD and stuff like that, and I was like, nah, like I didn't know what ministry full, and I still don't know what ministry fully means. Who really ever does? But at the time, I had a big enough grasp to just say, like, no, like that is not something I want to do.
Sure.
And so, kind of dug my heels in and wrestled with God for a little bit. And after about 3 months, I just said, all right, Lord, like if that's what you want, you got to start opening the doors because I'm not going to do nothing.
It's
And
so funny, man, how many of us start out that way. I was just speaking at a camp this summer and telling my story of how I went to ministry. And, honestly, it was kind of this obscure moment in eighth grade after campfire, like bonfire. My youth pastor just kind of innocently said, "Hey, Eric, I think you'd be a good pastor someday." And I was
Mm.
like, in my eighth grade mind, I remember being like, not a chance. Like pastors are total nerds. I'm not a nerd. I'm not going to be a nerd. Like, no, and
And look
for
at you. You became a nerd, man.
yeah, well, that at the campfire for the kids, that's how I wrapped it up. Like, now I'm a nerd. Um, and I'm proud of it. But dude, I just remember like no matter what I did or pursued or thought about doing, even like through my first year of college, where I was like, no, I'm going to get a public administration degree, University of Alaska. I'm not going to be a pastor. The whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're supposed to be a pastor. Out of
Mhm.
this like kind of random offhand comment by my youth pastor. And
Mm.
I could not get away from that. So just like, daunting. Like, you're gonna do this. No, I'm not. So I finally surrendered like when I was 19. But back to your story, like you had that kind of a random moment where you just heard from God.
Mm.
This is the path I'm putting in front of you. And so in that 3 months of like that it took you to surrender to that, what was happening? Like were you actually praying about it? Were you just wrestling with it? Like what changed your mind from no to okay?
Mm.
yeah, I think kind of, more theologically, I think when we wrestle with stuff, it is really a prayer, whether we
Mm.
realize it or not.
Hmm.
Mm.
And so I think honestly, I don't know what was it that changed my mind. I can't go back and say, somebody said something to me. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
um I just remember, one day saying, all right, Lord, like if this is what you want. And I think it was really just I kept feeling kind of like you said, like in the back of your mind, that urge, that push, that like this is so uncomfortable, I can't do anything but say okay and say yes.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and and so that's what happened, and here I am.
Well, out of curiosity, Tony, did you have anything like that, or were you like all in?
We continue to bring up the theme here on the podcast over the episodes, but the legend of Larry Osborne reigns supreme in my life. Having him as a youth minister who went to Ozark, he kind of pushed that direction. But even for me, through high school, I didn't have a lot of opportunities because I just never did homework in school, so my grades were terrible, right? But
Um,
but I was gonna go into the National Guard ROTC program and go to Oregon State and go into like something like geology or forestry. But I also got a scholarship to Ozark. And my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and he did not want me to do the ROTC thing at all because he had not a great experience with the Vietnam stuff. So my dad, who was not churched, even preferred for me to go to Ozark. But along with that, I had people in the church, because of my involvement so much in church growing up, were telling me that I would be a good minister someday, that I should speak in front of people, whatever that looks like. And so I just kind of decided, all right, if I'm not going to do the thing that's going to pay for college, at least I have a year of tuition to Ozark. So I'll go try that. And it was mostly like, I remember the two other guys in my vehicle were asleep, and the sun's coming up just east of Wichita, Kansas. And I'm just driving while the other guys are sleeping. And my prayer was, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm going here. This is so different than anything I'm used to. I will get myself involved in everything over the next several years, and you just lead the way. Tell me what to do. And so I graduated not knowing exactly what I was going to do, but went and did an internship. And it was just, for me, it felt more like a pinball machine, just like ting, ting, this, not that, this, that, and yeah, I just kind of fell into it really. But
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Mario, you had that 3 months, you kind of surrendered to it, and then what? What was the path forward from that point on?
Yeah, the next then it was I started out at Hope International University, started
mhm.
taking classes there, and then in 2010 we moved to McKinney, Texas to help plant a church out in McKinney, with our associate pastor in San Diego. So we helped plant a church in 2010, and I went to Dallas Christian College out there, took classes out there, met some cool people there. Um, about a year in being in McKinney, we ended up moving back to San Diego, and then I finished my degree out at San Diego Christian College. But the church plant in McKinney was really that was kind of like the seed that
Mm.
put church planting on my heart. Like, I think,
Hmm.
part of God's plan was that we weren't out there for long. There was just some stuff that happened that ended up moving us back to California. But that was, again, I didn't know what mobile church was. I didn't know how anything like that. We were baptized in 2008 and then helping plant a church in 2010. Like, this was really quick, I think, quick onboarding, and kind of saw like the underbelly of church, that can't always be, or that isn't always pretty. Um and for me, I was just like, yeah, like, this is, like, I like this. Like, I kind of fell in love with the church, seeing the ugliness and, um
Mm.
everything like that. And so yeah, so whenever we moved back to California in 2011, I was a little bit on staff in Texas. I came back to work on staff at the church that we were at, Ranchland in San Diego, and um, they let me preach. They let me kind of cut my teeth in preaching there, and uh, so yeah, just all sorts of opportunities that Wayne, who was the senior pastor, just allowed me to just kind of get involved and try and fail. And
Mm.
so it was a pretty cool, safe place to just learn.
So that's really interesting to me because I'm obviously a church planter and trying to recruit and train church planters, and you're a current planter and been part of a plant. How big do you think that is, or important that is for, if we're trying to raise up planters, how important is it that, like, to have that kind of environment that you had with that guy you're talking about? Like, where you get to try stuff?
I think
Mm.
it's invaluable. A safe place to fail,
Mm.
and I don't, fail is can be such a hard word sometimes. Um, a safe place to try things and not get the outcome that you are wanting, um,
Mhm.
is huge. I think
Mhm.
we read the Gospels, and Jesus sending his disciples out two by two. That's like, hey, go and do it.
Mhm.
And then come back and we'll talk about it.
Mm.
And I think that um, to allow somebody to have those opportunities, um, not only helps them build confidence in themselves and stuff like that, but it's very formational in how we should disciple others.
Mm.
Yeah.
Go and do it. Like, yeah, I'll show you how to do it. You've been with me. Go try it out. What'd you like? What didn't you like? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? How are you shaping your own way in this pathway? And I think, for me, I didn't grow up in a Christian church. So then I started listening to Christian pastors as I got, more involved. And part of it was like, who am I supposed to preach like or sound like or whatever? And so those opportunities allowed me to find my own voice. Who
Mm.
am I, and am I
Mhm.
being authentic to who I am as I'm preaching and
Yeah.
preparing and serving and leading and stuff like that. So um formationally, I think it really helps you figure out who Jesus is in you, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like some of the things that, I wrestle with a lot, are like how just kind of broadly how we do church in America. And, because we're pursuing, bigger, bigger, bigger churches. And in my mind, that's kind of the line that I drew when I came here is I want to pursue bigger kingdom. How do I get the kingdom to be bigger, not just my local church? And they don't have to be mutually exclusive and all that. But just kind of broadly, the way we do church has become like very like specialized. And I think it's because of our desire to grow bigger, bigger, bigger churches. And so we don't, it's not a safe place for people to play. And so we've created kind of, and this is very broad, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody or any specific anything, but just we've created this kind of environment where it's like, well, for us to get bigger, we have to have quality, and quality means we need expertise, which
Mhm.
inherently means we're not going to let people try.
Right.
Um,
Right.
if you have 5,000 people and you're trying to pay $1 million annual mortgage, you don't let guys from your church come up and try to preach. It's not a
Mhm.
safe place to experiment. If the product quality goes down, the attendance goes down, we can't pay our bills. And so regular people, really what they are, again, broadly, we've created kind of a consumer base of people that come and attend a really good product, really good show, great preaching, great worship leading. But if anybody's like, I feel like I have the gift of preaching, like, well, you're not going to use it here. And so just back to that experience you had where it's like you had someone go, hey, I'm going to give you the shot. I'm going to let you try some stuff. And if you mess up, that's fine. We'll talk about it.
Mhm.
That more closely, I think, this is just one man's opinion, models New Testament Christianity,
Mhm.
where Jesus started with 12 and then turned them loose to do the same thing. It's that Second Timothy 2:2 vision of like, hey, keep passing this on to people. Take what you've learned and keep passing it on to more and more people, not so they can watch a service on Sunday morning, but so they can go change the world with the gospel.
Mhm.
Um, and so somehow I feel like, drifted from that. Does that resonate with you guys, or am I just on my soapbox here?
No, man, I think that's great. I mean, just talking about Mario's story there, it's like when we think about trying to get people to take that next step in their faith or discipleship, serving, is a huge part of that growth. And if there's not environments within our churches where people are, I think you said it this way, Mario, free to fail,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
we're
great.
never going to get them there. Because I mean, how many people? I mean, even if you're not a mega church environment where it's definitely the experts, that level of skill is there, even in a church our size, like if we don't provide environments where people can get past that mental block in their own minds of like, I don't want to fail at this. if we can create cultures within our church that's like, no, you're free to fail. Like it's okay. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. Like if you make a big mistake or this ministry idea flops, like, okay, we'll try something different. Creating that culture from us as leaders within the church helps bring people then to a place where they're willing to take the next step. They feel like they have the invitation and the courage to go fail, because that's the avenue for them to plug in and serve and to grow. So yeah, that resonates big time.
Well, and when we get into the second half of Mario's story, you can talk about his church plant that he's part of now. We're going to see, I mean, he's going to tell us that they're all about doing what we're talking about, and going like even in a different direction than like traditional plants, I would say, because of that conviction. But Mario, let's fast forward, because at some point you came to Idaho, and I don't remember why. What brought you to Idaho? Was it family?
Yeah, family, cost of living. It was an opportunity for us to buy a house, and we were living in 800 square feet in San Diego.
Wow.
With three boys, and we just saw, my in-laws, my wife's parents, really just helped us. They helped us buy this house that we're living in now, and so yeah, it was a huge opportunity for our family. We came right after I finished my master's degree, and no job, no nothing like that. It was just like, all right, Lord, like, here we go. And it really wasn't like, some people were like, oh, I felt called or whatever. Like, we really prayed about the move, and we really did our research, and it really wasn't ever like a strong yes or no. And I think, sometimes God is like that. He's like, hey, wherever you go, I'm with you. And so we just felt like, all right, Lord, like, we're going to make the move, and, you're with us. So we came out here in 2019, and again, without any jobs. So I did some DoorDash and long-term substitution, and yeah, until I got asked to be on staff at a church.
And from there, you had, how many years were you at that church?
I was here in Idaho. I was at that church for almost 3 years.
Yeah, and we started talking during that time, and you were like very clear that you felt like that was a burden on your heart. You wanted to do it, and then you basically had the opportunity to step out of that church and start pursuing the new thing. So we'll talk about that in this next episode. I'm really excited what you're doing, because I really think what Mario and Jamie, his wife, are doing with their church is something that we're going to see more and more of, for lots of reasons that we'll get into in the next episode. But Mario, you're for the listeners, like Mario he was doing domestic violence counseling from Idaho for clients in the state of California. And he told me about that, and I got into that for a while. And part of our bivocational strategy was that we were counseling like on Zoom like this, like groups of men who were convicted of domestic violence in the state of California from a screen in Idaho. And so this format just kind of brings me back, brother.
Yep.
And I'd be like texting Mario, like, what do I do when a guy says this? Or what do I do when a guy says that? Or super interesting experience that we will probably not get into. But let me wrap us up for today. Be sure to check out our sponsor at 9centprinting.com. And if you like what we're doing, please hit like or subscribe. If you're interested in the Small Town Network and what we're about, you can find us online at smalltownnetwork.com. And if you believe in the importance of planting disciple-making churches in smaller communities, we'd love you to consider partnering with us in prayer and financial support. You've been listening to the Small Town Pastor Podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 five-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9 Cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com.